sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button, turn on your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I am saying massive shout out to every one of you for all the love and support you all give me here. I am truly grateful. Thank you all so much, and you all are so sorry. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about this video that I like, where they said black people, black spending power reaches record of $1.6 trillion, but net worth fails, right? So this video, this guy that is anti-black, he is so anti-black, Jeffrey, actually talked on the video and how black people are this, how black people are that. And guess what? A Jamaican American young man took that video and pisses him, he diced him. Jeffrey is so anti-black that everything about black community, he is just a sellout. He is a big time sellout to black community. And knowing where he is coming from and seeing him say most of the things he says, it's a big time turn off. Big time. Do I blame him? I do not blame him. He found a niche. He found a white people constellation in white people because his post is only targeting white people. So he got to tarnish black people's image, dent black community to please white people. And it's really going great for him and some other people. And this Jamaican American young man, I don't know, but whoever that raised that young man is raising him really right and great. He spoke so many facts and canceled them, all of them that are always looking for a way to drag black people into their business for no reason. I am just going to roll this clip. We'll come back to talk about it. And I absolutely want to read all your comments. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. And straight up, I am rolling there.
All right, think about this, okay? Black spending power reaches record 1.6 trillion, but net worth falls. And you can see in the study that it says it declined by 14%. Also, as you can see, I'm black. Now we have all these black people, racism, white people now, racism. That's the only thing holding black people back. No, it's not. Racism is not holding black people back. If we would put the same amount of energy into building something or learning as we do into complaining about racism and the white man and this and that and blah, 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 we'd be much better off. Now, back to this. Last year, we had more spending power in the US than ever. And in that same amount of time, we decreased our net worth. How do you do that? Well, in very simple terms, we had more money than ever, and with that, we worsened our financial situation. Buying liabilities instead of assets. It's very simple. Is the white man holding a gun to your head and forcing you to buy liabilities? No. And a lot of white people probably want to say this, but don't feel they can because they're white. The problem is not the white man, and it's not racism. We have a culture problem.
The pure vitriolic bullshit that these people...
So if you think like me or support me, this is what JJ thinks of you.
I wasn't planning on responding again, but something you go on to say later really struck a chord with me. While I'm at it, I might as well dismiss all the other bullshit.
He says I'm vitriolic. There's the definition. But see how he talks to people.
Fine. And it's people like this that are exactly the reason why I say what I say in the way that I say it. I'm about to ether your shit.
The hypocrisy is crazy.
You have no response to anything I said, so now you're trying to pull for hypocrisy by saying that I'm vitriolic by saying I'm gonna ether your shit. But you clearly weren't listening to what I said. I said the pure vitriolic bullshit. And what I meant was the type of vitriolic bullshit. Like how one of your first videos on the black community was this video in which you stand in front of this screenshot and then say in your video,
racism is not holding black people back. If we would put the same amount of energy into building something or learning as we do into complaining about racism and the white man and this and that and blah, 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 we'd be much better off.
Taking more time to lecture the black community about how racism is not a problem anymore and it's not holding you back without actually watching the clip you're standing in front of because the dude in the clip says,
do business leaders and other experts have thoughts on how to stop the trend and what's really behind it?
Yeah, of course. Some of it is simply allocating more capital to assets that at least have the potential to appreciate, things like houses, stocks, and bonds. Other reasons are systemic, and that's why about 1 out of every 5 black family has a negative net worth. Right now, systemic issues, redlining in housing, disparities in education, and other issues that are going to take a longer time to address.
If you must know, I created that whole catchphrase in response to people who will use different sources as a jumping off point for their research and then mislead people into a conclusion that isn't even supported by the thing they're fucking standing in front of. But nevertheless continue.
So he's claiming I built my following by finding a video of black people doing bad things, condemning it, saying why we need to condemn it, and then offering a solution that we need to be better. So I went and hand counted every video that I've made since I started making videos about the black community, politics, and that stuff. It's 328. In addition to that, I calculated how many posts that I've created to follow this formula and how many didn't, and I also calculated the amount of followers that each one of those have given me. 28% of the posts I've made have been according to his formula. In addition to that, less than 3 out of 10 of my followers have also come from the formula he's talking about. So in reality, DJ, you deconstructing me is not really how I built my following.
That's funny because I happen to do the same thing and you're missing a couple steps here. Your first video on the black community was posted November 22nd, 2022. From that point until your response video to me, you posted 387 videos, 312 of which are talking about the black community, or about 81% of your content. Now, something you just conveniently forgot in your calculation is how saturated your content is with comment responses. A whole 9% of your content since you started talking about the black community can be traced back to this video and this video. So I'm not sure why you didn't count the comment response videos that you made after making a video that follows the formula I laid out, considering that you'll make a video clipping black people doing something crazy and then make videos content farming off the engagement you got from those videos. But when you do, about 39% of the content that you make talking about the black community follows the formula I laid out. If 80% of someone's content is talking about a specific demographic of people, 4 out of every 10 times he talks about those people, he's clipping them doing some shit like robbing a Walmart in order to talk about how they're morally failing. 5 out of the remaining 6 times he talks about those people, he's clipping someone in that demographic saying some big wild racist shit or some disagreeable shit to talk about how the culture is morally failing them. And then the remaining 1 time he's clipping somebody from that demographic talking about how members of that demographic are morally failing. That is hate posting and contributing nothing to a conversation besides giving people a safe haven who already don't like those people to continue expressing their beliefs. But it's what you go on to say next that really illustrates the frequency at which we're operating here.
Aside from that, here's the biggest difference in you and I and the way we think.
So treating black fatherlessness as one of the reasons why the black community is the way it is instead of one of the problems the black community suffers?
Yes, it is part of the reason why we are what we are. So yes, when you're having sex with people and then not staying together, yes, that is on you. That's not on the system. You continually give black people an out to not be excellent, and I continuously say, hey, we need to be better and level up. The victims will stay with you. The people who want to do better will come with me.
You know, when you put this at the beginning of your video, because him and the people who watch him don't give a fuck, you are 100% correct. Because as somebody who's been providing the exact same talking points over and over again for months at this point, I would expect you guys to know that that 70% fatherless number that you guys keep spouting off is the amount of black children born to unmarried women, not single mothers. I would expect you to know that almost 60% of black fathers do live with their children. And according to the CDC, black fathers are more likely than white and Hispanic fathers to feed, eat with, bathe, diaper, dress, play with, and read to their children on a daily basis. I would have expected you to know that there are studies out there that show no significant differences among black, Hispanic, non-Hispanic, white, and other fathers for adolescents' perceptions of closeness or interaction with their fathers. I would expect you to know that marriage does very little to close the intergenerational wealth mobility gaps between black and white people, meaning even when black people get married, they are still behind the 8 ball. I would expect you to know something as elementary as the biggest way in predicting your wealth is being able to own property, something that black people were legally and socially barred from doing within one human life ago, which creates segregated neighborhoods that have still not been desegregated to this day. I would expect you to know that there are very systemic causes of obesity that, yes, do include race. I would expect you to know the systemic causes of low literacy rates within the black community and the lack of qualified teachers. I would expect you not to say something as dumb as personal accountability for obesity to a specific demographic of people in a nation suffering from an obesity epidemic, unless hundreds of millions of people just decided to not be personally accountable for anything anymore. But you didn't know all that, and you said this anyway, which shows that you don't give a fuck. One Google search and you could have been reading about the myth of black fatherlessness, but you didn't, because at the end of the day,
there are no systemic barriers holding black people back from getting to where they want to be. There's just not anymore. A lot of white people probably want to say this, but don't feel they can because they're white.
So the difference between me and you is that you feel everything is black people's fault. You feel that acknowledging systemic racism and the impact that it can have on individual choices is just blaming the white man for everything. You feel that everything would be better if black people just decided to do better. And you feel that racism is not a problem anymore because it was so long ago, unless it's an individual racism because, you know, individual responsibility. But guess what? Facts don't care about your feelings. There's a reason why you never provide anything that backs up anything you believe. Except for the instances you can clip that reaffirm your view that if we just did better, our issues would magically solve themselves. And I'm done with it. Good day.
So there was a study that just came out saying that by the year 2025, black people in America as a whole, our net worth will be in the negative. But what's crazy about that is if you tally up the amount of money that black Americans spend, the amount of money that black Americans spend altogether would pay for the entire GDP of a lot of countries. What that means is that for a lot of countries, black Americans could buy up every single thing that they create to sell. All their goods and services, we make enough money, or we spend enough money to buy up all of the goods and services of many countries. Like everything that they produce. So how is it possible that our net worth as a whole will be in the negative by 2025 if we spend more money than some countries can produce in goods and services? Well, some will tell you that it is the income wage gap, and it is white supremacy that is holding back black people and stopping us from being educated and and jobs and all of that. All of that is bullcrap. There's several other reasons for this statistic being true. Black people in this country have a hierarchy. There's the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class within black people. Your upper class being your athletes and actors that make millions and millions of dollars, and possibly owners of Fortune 500 companies that are black. Middle class are like the people that work, that maybe some business owners that live in decent to okay housing, have cars and all that. Just the general population of black people. And then the lower class are those that languish in the hood. There's a lot of us in the lower to middle class, and then there's a lot of us in the lower class. Not a whole lot of us in the upper class, in that way that I've termed it. The problem is a lot of us have the wrong priorities. We spend money on things that are expensive, but are not assets. You see, the acquiring of assets makes your net worth go up. You see, we've been trained to spend money on things that are flashy and depreciate, as opposed to getting things that may not be as cool or flashy or sexy, but hold its value or increase in value. Spending thousands on a sneaker collection does not increase in value. Jewelry, cars, Louis Vuitton bags, none of those things are assets. But they don't teach these concepts in school. That's black schools, white schools. None of them teach these concepts. But how do other races, white in particular, know about this stuff? Because again, remember, this stuff is not taught in schools. It's passed down by their parents. It's a mindset that has to be acquired. But you as an individual do not have to be part of that statistic. There's a lot more to this subject, so like and follow for part 2.
Black people. In 2022, the black community is in a worse condition than the condition of our grandparents 100 years ago. Now, how is this possible in a time where we have way more tools and resources than they did? Now, as many of y'all know, 100 years ago, our grandparents chose separation, and they literally decided to unite and collectively pool their money and their resources and build up 60 successful all-black towns. And despite how many voting rights they had, despite who the president was, these towns were extremely prosperous. Our grandparents knew that the only way for black people to be prosperous in America was to do something on our own. And that's the only time in the history of America that black people were prosperous. And as y'all also know, white people were so envious and jealous of these towns that they burned them down. But that meant nothing. Our grandparents built them right back up. It wasn't until we integrated and started spending our money outside of our community that we saw the detriment of our community. And every single year since we've decided to focus on integration and highlight voting rights over collective economics in our community has gotten worse and worse and worse. We are the only community where a vast majority of our money is spent outside of our community, making others rich while we get nothing. Black people, for far too long have we ignored that we are our own solution. For far too long we have ignored that maybe we were never meant to integrate with our 400-year-old oppressors. I really hope that in 2022, we don't believe that the American government, whose consistent treatment towards black people has been genocide, is going to be our solution. Like, we can't possibly think that. Yes, it was an act of genocide when they burned down Black Wall Street and all the other black-owned towns, but that was 100 years ago. We cannot let something that happened 100 years ago stop us from building something today. Like I said in my last video, America has no future for black people. America's country, politics, economy, infrastructure are declining more and more every day. Since COVID-19, it's only got worse, and you haven't seen nothing yet, from food shortages to lack of jobs. And you really think that America's sitting here concerned about being able to take care and provide jobs for 40 million black people? What is the alternative? for the Black community if we don't build something for ourselves? Is it making other people rich while we get poor? Is it watching our people die in non-Black owned hospitals? Is it consistently watching our people get murdered? All the protests, all the movements, and police shooting increased in 2021? We were never meant to integrate with our 400-year-old oppressors. Elijah Muhammad's economic blueprint plan has been around since Black people have been voting. A plan for Black people to collectively unite our money into a bank where we can buy up land and build stuff. We can no longer ignore this program.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Alright, this is all we got from the video, and first of all, I am going to start by saying that JJ, the one with locks, is very smart, and I love how he floored Jeffrey, because Jeffrey has always, okay, you can imagine someone that has made 318 videos or something. I mean, 300 and I think 10 or I can't remember. 318, then 312, it's about Black people, about Black people's lives, about how Black people are irresponsible. I mean, about, like, you know, someone that comes and all he want to talk about is how Black people are this, how Black people are that, how Black people are irresponsible. I mean, who does that? You know, I keep telling you all that this young man is from Tulsa, and the people, you know, they have a particular audience they are targeting, which are white people. And with them, when you go to their comment section and you are like, damn, you want to pew, because like they are all not smart. Because if you are smart enough, you definitely will understand. You know, this is the problem we keep having. When we are looking for a way, Black people are looking for a way to create awareness, to let people know what's going on in the community and how it is affecting Black people and all that. Some Black people are somewhere telling white people not to listen to Black people, right? And I also see a lot of white people also trying to educate themselves. But then the problem is that some of them do not read. They don't want to read. They don't want to get to even know Black people. They don't want to understand Black people, to understand better what is going on in Black community. They just go to their channels. There are like about 4 or 5 of them. I mean, like, you know, sellouts Black people. And more like they have forum. And you see them spewing rubbish. What I don't even understand. And it hurts my feeling that people that should know better, that should understand better, that should speak better of Black community are out there being Conesians, like, being sellouts, selling Black community out for their own gain. And they think it's okay. It's not okay, but there is something that I found out. You know, this is going to come back eventually. Some of them actually are dating white people, like, you know, and then all they want to do is always come in defense of white people instead of telling them the reality and the truth. And sometimes I feel like, I mean, am I really making an impact? Because, like, you know, you are trying to debunk some certain things. You are trying to straighten some certain things. And some other people are out there, you know, making the work so hard for you. Because a lot of people, white people, actually got there to listen to them. And that really sucks. This is where I am going to draw the curtain. Thank you all so much for all the love and support. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.